I was 19, standing in a dorm hallway with my entire life packed in boxes, and nowhere to go. The university refused to let me move in. My tuition hadn't been paid. And the person who was supposed to be helping me? My mom, who had just thrown away my tax forms, again. That's when I stopped playing nice, and gave her the one thing she always told me to do. I complained to my father, and it destroyed her entire house of lies. If you've ever been taken advantage of by someone who was supposed to protect you, this story's for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for a revenge story where the villain never saw it coming. My parents divorced when I was in kindergarten. I barely remember the arguments or the court stuff, just that one day my dad was gone, and my mom was different. She got full custody, and from that moment on, I became her emotional crutch, her therapist, and eventually, her punching bag. She wasn't diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure my mom has borderline personality disorder, and she was every inch the textbook narcissist. She made sure we knew exactly why there was never any food in the house, why we couldn't afford field trips or lunch money. "It's your father's fault," she'd snap when we were hungry. Cry to him. So I learned early on, don't complain. Don't ask. Don't expect anything. By the time I was 8, I knew how to get myself and my sister fed, dressed, and out the door without asking her for a thing. At 10, I could cook a basic dinner, clean the whole house, and still make honor roll. She trained us to serve her, emotionally and physically. And the saddest part? We thought it was normal. She'd sit on the couch watching TV or chain-smoking in the kitchen while my sister and I vacuumed, cooked, cleaned. If we complained, we were ungrateful little brats. If we asked for help, we were worthless burdens. High school, senior year. Things got worse after my grandma, her mom, died. She inherited nearly $75,000. By the end of that summer, it was gone. All of it. She quit her job. Stopped even pretending to look for work. Every day, she'd come home from hanging out with her friend, reeking of alcohol and cheap perfume. When the power got shut off or the fridge was empty, she'd say, "You have a job. Why can't you pay it?" I was 17. I worked nights at a retail store, did my homework on my breaks, and got up early to make her coffee so she wouldn't scream at us. Child support. She called it Mommy's paycheck and bragged about spending it on whatever she wanted. If I ever brought it up, she'd start ranting about my sister's tuition, which I later found out was a complete lie. College decisions. I got into a few colleges but chose a good state university, one I could afford with grants, a part-time job, and my FAFSA. But FAFSA came with a catch. I needed my tax forms every year, and my W-2s were still being mailed home. Freshman year, my mom shredded them, claimed it was a mistake, then lied and said her CPA friend had them. My sister was the one who exposed the lie. She called the CPA herself. The woman, who'd known our family for years, was horrified. She filed my taxes for me, free of charge. Even did my FAFSA so I wouldn't lose my aid. That year, I learned the truth. My mom hadn't paid a single dime toward my sister's tuition. My dad had. And he was still paying child support, $2,000 a month, plus the mortgage and property taxes on our house. And yet, my mom claimed she was broke, that I needed to grow up and pay my own way. Second year. It happened again. My W-2s vanished. I had to request duplicates twice. The second time, I asked my summer job boss to mail it to my college dorm. He did. But the damage was done. My FAFSA was late. My aid dropped. And once again, Mom blamed me. Maybe you shouldn't have wasted all your money on junk food. That summer, I worked 2 jobs and saved everything. I had $1,000 by move-in day. But when I got to campus, they wouldn't let me in. Turns out I owed 50% up front, $10,000. I panicked. I called the only person who'd never let me down. My dad. The turning point. He was there by morning. Donut in one hand, coffee in the other. He sat with me through every office meeting. Co-signed a loan. Then, without even blinking, wrote a check for the balance. And then he said something I'll never forget. Your mom hasn't paid anything for you. Not for you. Not for your sister. Ever. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down, I knew he was right. The revenge plan begins. He asked me for access to my student account to prove to the court that he was paying, not my mom. And then he asked how I'd feel if he just stopped paying her child support and paid my tuition directly instead. I didn't hesitate. He made arrangements with his lawyer, gathered bank statements, printed emails, and filed to reopen their divorce case. Mom's downfall. She called me, screaming, "You selfish brat. I need that money. How do you expect me to live?" I calmly reminded her that tuition was expensive. Since she never contributed, it only made sense. She raged. Said I ruined her life. Said I was just like my father. For once, I took that as a compliment. At the hearing, the judge sided with my dad. He would no longer pay child support or cover the mortgage. If my mom couldn't take over the payments, the house would be sold. And I'd live with my dad over breaks. Mom tried to retaliate by letting the utilities lapse and guilt-tripping me about not coming home. I told her I'd visit when the lights were back on. Magically, they came back on. Final revenge and sweet justice. That spring, the court made it official. My dad was responsible for my college tuition. Nothing more. The house went on the market. Her boyfriend moved in until it sold. Then they both left the state. The final twist. It was cheaper for my dad to pay my entire tuition than to keep giving her $2,000 a month. She lost her child support, her free rent, and her grip on me. All because I finally did what she always told me to do. Complained to Dad. She thought she could milk the system forever. That no one would ever question where the money went. But in the end, her greed exposed her. And her own words, "Go cry to your father," were the rope she used to hang herself. Sometimes, revenge doesn't come with screaming or slammed doors. Sometimes, it looks like a tuition receipt and a quiet peace of mind. I don't hate her, but I'll never trust her again. And I finally understand, freedom isn't just financial. It's emotional. If this story hit you in the gut like it did me, hit that like button and subscribe. Comment below. What's the most emotionally satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And if you've ever had to cut off a toxic parent to save yourself, just know you're not alone.